I regularly schedule.
I saw my neighbor's cars on Broadway, and there's like
No, Matt's
like
stuck.
3 feet of snow on the sides, and then there must be another like 4 feet on top. And, like, maybe it's
Good. Stuck in Puerto Rico. I know, it's terrible. I'm stuck somewhere warmer.
Guess what I did yesterday when I was snowed in?
What? There you go.
And then I. Puerto Rico.
Nice. What are you gonna go?
We're going Thursday morning.
That's what it is.
It wasn't, it was like so much.
That's real. I think we should do.
Yeah.
This is.
Are you seriously getting more on Tuesday? I'm so
Yeah.
over it. I need like
It's okay. I mean, I guess if you got closer to the time, of course you would start to see.
Yeah. Oh, no, next Tuesday is wild. Okay, next Tuesday. Yeah.
That's a,
I'll get it.
yeah, that's a secondary question.
Then as you get closer.
We're trying to get that.
Yeah, exactly.
I think.
It came out of nowhere though. It's like,
Are you ready?
A little stronger, I don't know.
Who else do I name? We got Rob.
still.
Riley's on her way.
With the applicant, are they
Yeah,
gonna sit
but
here or
they
they gonna?
kind of like, did you see this?
Yeah, yeah.
Pull them up. Do they have things to present on the screen?
I don't know, is. Oh, they.
All right, I'm gonna open the meeting and then you guys can open your meeting.
Oh, who's?
Wait, Alan's not here.
Yeah.
Who's number 2?
I'll do it.
Steve, you'll do it. Steve will do it. All right, can I get a motion to, oh wait, I'll welcome everybody. Hi. This is the Board of Trustees Workshop Meeting. We have the planning board here with us for the first day of our meeting. But I'm gonna first take a motion. First, it's February 24th, 2026, and I would like a motion to open this meeting. Deputy Mayor Galen, Trustee Patino, all in favor. That's 5. We have 2 trustees missing today. For extreme circumstances, they are not here and they are excused. And then the planning board, please open.
Make a motion to send the meeting for the planning board, planning board.
Second.
Right.
Sorry, Rob.
All right. So we are gathered here today to discuss 19 Livingston Avenue again. We'd love to have the applicant up and once you, Christina,
Yeah,
would you like to sit here? Or do you want to present something? How do you want to proceed with this discussion?
I would like to take you through where we're at today.
Okay,
We were at,
probably best to do it up there then. Sure. While she gets set up, let's just introduce ourselves because we have new people since last time we did our joint meeting and you do too. So I'm Christine Allen, the mayor. I took Benny's spot.
And Dr. Winder, planning board.
I'm Nathan Patel, rookie trustee. Donna Suma, another rookie trustee.
Steve Brosnahan, planning board. Excuse me.
Shamari Rawlins, second alternate member of the planning board.
Chris Stower, first alternate member of the planning board.
Jessica Galen, deputy mayor.
Michael Patino, trustee and liaison to the planning board.
Rob Lane, planning board.
Laura Howe, planning board, architecture review board.
That's right. It's planning board and architecture.
Architecture review board. Come on.
Two.
All right. Mike, do you want to do a little intro for this to kind of bring us back together since we
Yes,
last met?
thank you. We met a 3 months ago as a joint board workshop. And at the time, there was some lack of clarity about a portion of the site that the applicant thought that they couldn't build on due to soil fill conditions. When we met, we were under the impression that that could potentially get identified very clearly through some testing, and then that testing would produce a report by the applicant that would be reviewed by our consulting engineer to confirm that it was in fact a problematic area of the site. The applicant did that work. It turns out that what we were hoping to have, which was a very clear picture of a boundary of an unbuildable portion of the site, isn't actually a reasonable expectation. It is a kind of gradient of terrible soil to worse soil, or terrible to bad soil, and it's a question of feasibility of the scheduling of the ability to store material on the site, and our desire to see a project move ahead quickly. I think it's a tricky balance, right? The further it pushes north, the harder it gets to build, the more likely it is to not succeed. And so that was the applicant's finding. It went to our engineer. Our engineer agrees that it's reasonable for us to trust, to look to the applicant to do their own analysis and to provide that to us. And so, it's not that our engineer went and verified any of those things, it's that he thinks that their assessment of it is reasonable. So part of that has to do with, or most of that has to do with our desire as a board to have a more substantial view corridor on the southern part of the property. So I think at the last planning board meeting, the applicant did some work to move those buildings further north. They weren't as far north as, some members would have liked to see, but I think they've done a good job of trying to work through that. So I think it's probably best that the applicant present that and that we can ask specific questions, but
Can I just ask of the planning board specifically before they start, just so that I can try and look through it with that lens, as to what additional information or feedback you want from us that is like things you want us to look for or have opine on to help come to a conclusion here?
I think, we were looking, I think, at, Lori Lee put it best when we were deciding to do this joint meeting. I was sort of really mostly looking for a head nod from the Board of Trustees that this direction, the sort of disposition of the buildings on the site now is close enough to what it's probably going to be so that they can proceed. They have a lot of work to do because they have to go through SECR. They have a lot of studies they have to do and approvals that they have to get. And they need buildings to be the sign off on. I mean, there'll be many other things that we'll be looking at, both as the AHRB and the planning board, about we're trying to work with them to push and pull some things that we would like to see, and there'll be some architectural questions, but we're looking for kind of just a head nod from the Board of Trustees before we tell them that they should go forward with other aspects of the project. I don't know, Lori Lee, do you wanna, is that more or less?
That is it, because you were charged with providing a layout that met this view shed discussion from our last meeting. So as a result of that, we can't proceed at the planning board, and as you know, I advise the planning board as well. And the applicant cannot start to prepare the SECR, or start to prepare engineering, or start to prepare the necessary technical information. So Anthony and Valley's, the firm, we do have a representative here from Valley's firm, can proceed to review the technical aspects of this because they cannot produce the reports necessary to move forward.
And for two trustees at the other end of the table, the Board of Trustees issues the site plan, the final site plan approval for projects like this. There's some criteria in the code as to which ones we look at. This meets the criteria. So while we rely on the planning board to do the kind of the majority of the work with the applicant, it will come back to us and we will approve it or not. And so we started doing these joint meetings so that we didn't get to a point where the Board of Trustees and the planning board aren't in agreement. An applicant does a lot of work. The planning board is content with their application. It comes to us and we say, we don't like it. We wanted to be on the other side of it. So that's why we're here and that's why we have this joint meeting. And it's ostensibly to help the applicant and also to empower the planning board.
Good, thanks. In the end, what we'll be sending you all is basically recommending that you all approve it. For the,
And is that just for site plan or is that for the full project?
it's a good question, because I don't know how the AHRB part of it fits in.
It also devolves because the AHRB and the planning board is combined when it's in the purview of the village board of trustees, the HRB part of it also. So you'll be making recommendations based on as your expertise under the planning and also based upon recommendations that you may have as to the designs.
Right, and that consolidated will come to the
Correct.
Board of Trustees, and the idea of this is that they won't suddenly say, what is this? We never saw this, we can't approve it. It should be, I don't know, say rubber stamp, is not right, but it should be.
Because it initially was presented with a different layout, general layout to the Board of Trustees, and now it has become, had a joint meeting and the Board of Trustees, we'd like to see you do as much as you can with a layout that provides that view shed. So that's why now it's back here, so you're not surprised that the layout is completely different than the first time the Board of Trustees heard it in a presentation.
To your point, I think if you were to have an application, that maybe is a little abstract, I don't know if it's gonna necessarily apply here. But if you were to have an application with an unusual expression of form or materials and you wanted us to have another joint meeting, I think, because that didn't come about until through some partway through the process, then I think we'd be happy to do that.
Right.
But I think, we get a sense of the intention here from the massing and from some of the line work. So I don't think it's gonna, turn into like a deconstructivist explosion of glass and metal.
Right.
But if it does, then we can all meet again. So,
Yeah, because right now it's concept based because they really can't get into the nitty gritty of the project until we're all happy that the layout is the best they can do for purposes of that view shed. And Dan, you've been
Yeah,
involved, yeah.
The layout of the site.
Yeah.
represent For the view shed,
You want to sit with us, Dan?
if the DOT is on the same page with the planning board.
Do you want to sit with us? You can sit with us.
Sure,
Yes.
So basically, this is really just for the
Uh,
of the building,
Two empty
and not
chairs.
necessarily.
I think so. I think we should
And this
focus on that
isn't
tonight.
final. This
Yes.
is not
Yeah.
final,
It's the
this
layout.
is just to get them
Right.
going and
Okay.
everything
Yeah.
else they have to
Okay.
do.
Yeah.
Got it.
And then you can
Confirm.
work it out.
Yes. All right, Christina,
Good
hit it.
Introduction.
I see the first time, principal for your architects. I'm gonna take you from where we left off with the joint meeting, with the VO2 planning board, just to let you know what we did since then. I'm gonna show the screen.
Does she need to have the microphone closer to her? Thank you.
We had it for Stephen, we had it set for Stephen.
This isn't representative of the latest, project, but I just wanted you, we just put this on the cover page because it's. What we'll end up doing is not stacking the units, but we still will have a similar to what's here. This is the, rendering we were asked to do by the BOT when we met them last May in 2025. So when we met in, at the last joint meeting, okay. We had shown you, kind of 4 concept sketches, and I just want you to know where we come from that point. This was our original layout, and we have always had this area that goes up in the air in the northwest corner that the civil engineer feels is not buildable for a variety of reasons. It's been explored, it's in a report, it has to do with the steep slopes, the amount of fill, there's a county trunk line that should not be disturbed. There are many reasons why any building in this area is prohibited. So what we did is, we looked at different ideas at the last meeting. We gave you 3, what we call design studies. We did so many schemes, we started calling them studies. The study 1 was having 6 units, and parallel to Livingston, there were a number of people from both boards that preferred that to create the street wall consistent with the other houses on the street, so we turned it there. We had 6 in the front, 3 in the back. This pushed the units into that yellow box area, and then we showed you 2 where we had 5 before, which actually reduces the view on the south southern part of the site, and then scheme study 3, which is 2 different patterns parallel to the street and then parallel property lines. We thought it was a little bit not doesn't really give us a cohesive and unified layout. So we actually picked this scheme because it gave us the largest view through the site, and that was the goal. When we last met with you, we said maximize that view through the site, especially from the gateway. And the gateway view, from what I understand, reading the code and the platform diagram that's in the zoning code, it's located close to the corner of Livingston and Bull. So that was our goal, is to come up with a design that would increase this area. So this is our latest plan that we showed to the planning board. We still have 9 units, which we feel is critical to the economic feasibility of this project. We have a lot of expense in building retaining walls and getting everything to work around the area in the corner. We have the 6 units in the front. We have narrowed the units. There was a great suggestion someone made, let's make the units narrow. So we did that to 3 of the units. And we also pushed them further north, especially the rear unit, so we could double the setback on the south side. We decreased this corridor between the 2 sets of 3 units. We did this because rather than give 3 big views, we gave up the view between the buildings so we could have more view on the south side. Now, the reason why there is a space here is because we're trying to get the 2,500 square foot minimum, which is required by the cluster development code. But unit 5 and this unit 2 does have undersized sites, but in the code it says you can get a waiver if you can show that you're giving more open space to the in other areas of the site. And I forgot to mention, we also have identified the space that we want to give to a conservation easement. This is a little under a quarter of an acre, and this is going to probably be some kind of native garden and to help encourage native wildlife. Now this is a plan that we submitted, but it's in color tonight, so it can help show you all the changes that we made. So starting at the top, we found that the truck turnaround was not necessary for the fire trucks. We were able to design a driveway that has a turning radius here, so the fire truck come down and then it brings the hoses to standpipes. So this space that we devoted to that wasn't necessary anymore. And that allowed us to move the rear units northward on widening that space in the south. The townhouse units are turned, I said before, parallel to Livingston. Unit 5 was reduced from 23 to 20 feet. That's the affordable housing unit. It has only space for a 1-car garage below. One of the important concepts of this project is all cars are hidden either in garages or tucked away in parking areas in the back. But the affordable housing unit will now have a 1-car garage, which is consistent with the units in the back, and we have single car garages. The space between units have been reduced from 18 to 6 feet. And then these 3 units have been turned and moved northward. So the units that you see in gray was our original plan. And you can see we have moved them significantly north. We've opened this area. We have now a nice big cone of area that can be used for viewing. We have developed a viewing platform that's 50 feet wide. The public could come up here and look through the site. we were asked by the planning board just to look at the view through this site, even though you will get view through the green side, of course. The viewing platform is actually very close to a bus station, so it's a good location for it. Below that, we'll have common gardens. This is owned by the residents. And there'll be restrictions to make sure that any kind of vegetation and plants are below a certain height, so it doesn't interfere with the views from the view platform. The side yard setback has been doubled to 10 to 20 feet, so we push the units northward. These units 7 and 9 were reduced from 23 to 21 feet, reducing the overall length. But the only way we can do that is to pull the garages off to the side. And those garages actually gave a benefit to the project. We were asked to diversify the type of units, so underneath these garages, we're able to do accessory dwelling units. So we have now 2 accessory dwelling units that are connected to units 7 and 9. And these 1-story garages are actually not, you can see right over them from Livingston Avenue, so they have no impact on the view. And as you can see, if you look at the gray units here, we have changed them, turned them and moved them northward, something like 36 feet. So it's really significant, and that really helped us open the view of that and making the units narrow. We have shown and identified the protected open space requirement of the cluster development code, which is this conservation easement over here, this area here. We have a civil engineering report that was provided and reviewed by the village engineer to show the difficulty building here, the boring tests that were provided. And the parking area was also reduced in size. We meet the code for all the required parking plus 3 visitor spots. And the parking, and it gives us more green space, and we traded this area, which paved area for green space. This slide is showing our view our views through the site. This one at the top is at the property line, and the driveway where you're going to see is showing the shape of the view between the buildings and over that 1-story garage. This is a very narrow view, which was decided by a lot of comments that a view corridor between the buildings was not as important as making sure we have a nice view from the gateway. So this became very narrow, but it still is a view over that garage and below. And then now we have a view that is wider, that is from the viewing platform, looking over the common gardens through the site. And by the way, that area, this area has almost doubled in size, the area for that.
This Paul, can I interrupt for just 1 sec?
Yeah.
I know Paul was gonna talk to Cabrini about clearing, like a lot of that wedge is on their property, but you've been having discussions with them about trying to clear.
To discussing that, because if we can get some kind of agreement to keep complaints down, it really will have a significant impact on
Right.
you. And they also we've been discussing, or the Livingston Development Group has been in communication with them, talking to them about lowering the wall that is blocking the view along the sidewalk.
Mhm.
Those are 2 matters that are in the works. And now, just the floor plans were necessary because we went from concept drawings and we have to make sure that the units can work when they're narrow, and how does that work? So these are the floor plans as well. 4 through 6 are almost the same, except for affordable housing unit. And these are the floor plans of the units in the back, which now have a stair, and there's entrance with a stair down underneath those garages, so that these 2 units could have 1-bedroom accessory dwelling units. These are just our preliminary elevations, just showing that on the units 1 through 6, number 5 is narrower because that's the affordable housing unit, and there's a very narrow space now between buildings. which is not only gave us more space for the southern view, but it also allows us some windows into these units. And this is the view of the units that we changed in the back 7 through 9. The 7 and 9 have been reduced by 2 feet, giving us less of a 2-story bulk. And now we have 1-story. Did I lose everything?
Yeah, well, the screen share is not on.
I'm sorry. I don't know when I lost you.
We're just at that last, only your last sentence.
Okay, hold on. Okay. Sorry. Finding.
For the Board of Trustees, we have Anthony on the line for 3 more minutes. Because he has to drop. Does anyone have any specific questions of our engineer before he has to drop?
Anthony, would you maybe just give us a summary of what came up, your interpretation of the report? I said something sort of on your behalf, but I'd prefer if it came from you in case I got something a little off.
Sure. Yeah, I think you kind of put it very eloquently. I think you summed it up nicely. You know, there's certainly some engineering judgment that has to come into play here, but you know, they're weighing the different factors there: the slope stability, the railroad in close proximity with the slopes, the county trunk line, the adjoining properties to the north. And, you know, I think what was submitted was at least sufficient to me from an engineering standpoint. It's based on a lot of historic data, a lot of historic borings that were done over the years, personal experience of their engineer on the site, to kind of define that as best as possible. I never felt there was really a kind of a line in the sand we could draw and say this was the line you could build on one side of or not. You know, there's the engineering judgment that has to come into play. You know, they're weighing a lot of different things here: the staging of the site, the digging out of the existing fills that are bad that you'll have to do under a building, and not doing that close enough to the slope to destabilize the slope. So I think, just as you said, you know, what they gave us was a reasonable, you know, assessment of all the conditions, which I find perfectly acceptable. From an engineering standpoint, I wouldn't want to go to a point where I'm pushing them to say you have to build this much closer. You know, things in the field could even change, you know, as they dig things out. So there's a lot to be weighed there. So from an engineering standpoint, I'm in a good spot where I agree, and I kind of always agreed, knowing that corner was bad. But I think getting the report for me, you know, helped me at least solidify that and have something, you know, to hang our hat on, so to speak. So I think you know that that there needs to be a weighing of what is important here and how much weight to put on the view sheds, how much weight to put on just what's practical to build and feasible to build. I never liked the word the black box because I didn't think it was definable enough to call it a box. But that's where I stand, and appreciate, you know, letting me speak. I do have to jump off. I'm sorry, but any questions, feel free.
Thank you.
I'll read it here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anthony.
All right, Christina, you want to? keep
Yeah, I
that?
can continue.
I'm gonna turn it mute on.
We also studied views on the side, we did sections one, the top one is through the driveway. And we wanted to see what that would look like, we can look over that garage down below. And then the bottom section is cut from a view platform at the very right on the eastern side of the site. So when you look out from that view platform, the platform is actually 5.5 feet above the top of the roof of the garage, which is a tiny bit inside that view that I showed you earlier. So this is the relationship of the buildings to the site. And then we actually did a view study. We picked a view that was, we took it from Google Earth with this time of year, and we couldn't quite get old photographs that worked, so we thought this one was perfect. It was as close as we could find to that location that's shown on the view platform map that's in your zone code. Which is taken around the island, close to the the lamppost here. And if you look really closely, you can see the wall, the taller wall here, that belongs to Cabrini. So this site starts over here. And there's a bus stop here. And we were able to, we kind of traced where we felt the river was. And then we inserted our model of the proposed building. And from this point of view, and the model is based on our site plan. So it's extruded from that plan. The model's very accurate, and then put it into the site, and we base the scale of it on the other buildings on the site. And also on the size of certain things, because we know this wall's 5 feet, the wall next to it or a proposed wall. And that area, you see that's curved here, this is the view platform, this is gonna be 42 inches above the sidewalk, so you can see over it. And this is showing removing plants. From this view, we know that the site, the property, continues this way. So we made a judgment on how much of this greenery we would cut down for 19 Livingston, and then we tried to estimate where the property line was, so that just so you could see, we're not trying to suggest that we don't have any of the trees and shrubbery down at Cabrini. So this is what we think is a good estimate of the kind of view you would see from that gateway location.
Okay, I have to do a time check because we have two other
I
things.
finished that same.
Perfect, thank you.
All these slides in this series.
Yeah, we can.
Yes.
Just want to make sure you didn't add any additional slides since you made the submission. All this is,
Let's see, I had the color and I had, I just want you to know what I did add.
so just follow up by sending the,
All the items in my letter are on this, so I could show you all the changes.
okay, just resubmit with the slides as you've presented them. To make them available if the public is interested in accessing.
I will.
Thank you.
Christina, I have a question. The 3D gateway view study you showed us, which I think is really important. I don't see any of the westernmost buildings in that view.
They're
They
here,
don't show up.
they are here, this. All of these buildings have like a 2.5 story part, and then they drop, there's this.
No, I mean, the
And
buildings that are.
this is the building in the back, this is the
Oh,
last
okay.
unit. This is the roof of the garage below.
Oh, gotcha, okay.
And this is where the building steps down from the, is like a 1/2 story
Gotcha.
here down to a railing for a roof.
Thank you.
Got it.
And the white part, is that the garage roof?
Yes,
Okay,
I mean, we've set this up so we can actually develop it further with windows and texture. But for the sake of the study and help make a decision on locating the units, we thought this would work best.
Thank you. I think this is really important because it's pretty close to a view of when Rudy's was there. It's pretty close to, you know, I wish you could do the viewing, push the viewing platform another 20 feet out to the west. That would make me very happy.
I
Very close.
will start on the board feedback. I just appreciate all of the work that has gone
Yes.
into it and
Thank you.
because I think that this view shed is a significant improvement from the last time, and that's really all, that's what we were hoping for, and the fact that it can still work and that you guys are willing to do it is very collaborative and good, so thank you. And as long as it's working, I like how it's aligned, I like how the alignment against the street perpendicular to it rather than not, and it makes it feel more continuous with the rest of the buildings. But as for everything else, I yield to those who know more. I think that the view shed seems to be improved and is good for the whole village. So that's my point of view. Other board people? Second, what you said? Yeah. Have any comments? Anything you wanna chime in? You don't have to. Mhm,
I appreciate that, yes.
mhm.
Do have a question from the traffic committee. There's location for a bike share platform.
We haven't gotten that far.
Yeah.
So we're just.
Just the
looking at the
layout, the
layout,
site plan.
And then it's gonna go back to the site plan development.
But I appreciate your
That's,
liaison work.
oh, I'm liaison.
But that, no, it's good. No,
I was expect that question.
we'll talk about all those things, but that's now what we'll do going forward.
Liaison.
Yes, I think we appreciate that you were able to get a little more width on that southern side of the property. I think it's a nice, you know, you sort of happened upon a nice accident, that you can find two more sort of, you know, albeit small, but you know, sort of units, the type of unit that Dobbs is critically lacking, so that's a added benefit of what you found. And so I do like those garages for that reason. I think it also is also nice just to vary the massing, and, you know, potentially other detailing. And I think that rendering is really the best evidence that you are maintaining, the intent of the view shed. And so, thank you, and I think we'd like to see you move forward with the planning board. You know, I realize there's a lot of other work to do, but
Agreed.
I'd like you to start. This layout.
So I have a comment. I think this layout is great and I know this is not part of what we're looking at right now, but I do feel very strongly about this. When I was looking at the site and something was bothering me and it was Jessica who said this on the site when we went to visit. She said something to the effect of, I want this to serve, or this route should serve as one of the gateways to our community or our village, and it should reflect the importance of coming in here, what our community is about, right? And I thought about that and I'm like, well, what does that mean? And so for me, doing a little research, I just think that and I'm just asking and just suggesting, if this building at some point could show some type of what Dobbs Ferry is, the historical value of the homes there. And I know this is a great plan, but architecturally thinking forward, if that's just a possibility rather than kind of the cookie cutter type townhouses that we just plop down and we could see them anywhere. It would be nice to see some of that historical architecture that's in our community reflected on possibly these buildings.
I really love that idea. I was
That's
like,
just-
any building we do should have a sense of place.
Because if this is something we're entering into our community, Dobbs Ferry is about the historical architecture that we have, even though that section may not present it now. Why not have something that Ruden's Beau Rivage did? And it's just, I just feel like that would be really important.
That's next phase.
Yeah.
I know, that's why I said, I'm sorry, but we'll.
No, it's
Glass
good.
boxes,
But if-
but
We'll get them.
You don't feel like we didn't know where they're located?
No, I get it. I'm just saying, I don't wanna waste your time. That's how I'm thinking.
Okay, if that's all, we've got to move on with the rest of our workshop, so I have to kick y'all out.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for your patience and
You wanna take a motion to close?
Oh, yeah, sorry, planning board has to close.
thank you, Josie.
Steve, and you,
Close the.
Make a motion to close the planning board.
Close the planning
Oh.
board.
I second it.
you gotta vote
Okay.
here.
there we go.
Oh, yeah. Adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm not.
Oh, yeah, if I could, I would leave too.
What else you have part of the workshop? What else is on the workshop?
Yeah.
Writing notice.
So.
Providing,
Yeah.
law, providing notice to the village, so.
And Project Mover, that's like the bike thing. That's the other one.
Is Rob Aaron? Would assume he's gonna.
If not his
He
liaison.
is the second most, present person after Patty at our workshop.
How do you put his leader?
Thank you,
All right, have a good night.
thank you. All right, we're gonna just, I want to get this part over, number 2.
Thanks, Christie.
Thank you. So the second item that we're talking about is updating our code in regard.
Work into, please.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Right. So this next thing Lori Lee brought up, it's the discussion of the local law to clarify the form and method of providing notice. So what we have, I asked them to print out our existing code so that we understand what the difference is. Previously, when someone had a complaint about something, they were, by our code, supposed to tell the Board of Trustees of the Village of Dobbs Ferry. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that doesn't necessarily get it into the record and tracking and everything as quickly as it could if it was actually to the clerk who's in charge of that and actually communicate with the staff quickly, so it would make more sense and is more proper for it to go directly to the clerk.
The New York State statute for this requirement requires it to go to the clerk. So this would be
Ours was wrong.
a way, yeah, well. I
Not
don't
wrong, different.
different, and I just wanted to be sure that you closed a loophole so you could get information out to the particular departments, so the conditions could be corrected as soon as possible, which limits the village's liability for whatever the dangerous condition is. So you can see in the local I drafted, there are two paragraphs at the end, which talk about the ways in which you can accomplish this. NICOM had sent us all an advisory recently indicating that based upon a recent case with the city of Albany, that it would behoove even villages, when it's clearly set forth in the state statute, it would behoove villages to adopt their own local code, which clearly establishes the rules and requirements on how, when, where, and who the notice goes to. Because what happens is, because you have portals available to the public where they could communicate with a single trustee, or they could communicate with anyone, you know, through the portal that says, hey, yeah, so even Facebook would be qualified. So this would provide you the opportunity to get that notice quickly and to get the condition corrected. It's without a question that could be litigated at a point in the future. So there are two paragraphs there. I don't know how you'd like to handle this. I know that you have a system which allows copies. If something comes in about a condition, a copy can be programmed to automatically go to different places, but I just want to make sure that the clerk's office is the repository for any of these notices, and they're maintained in the records. So if a claim should arise later about that condition and somehow Liz didn't get that notice, we want to be sure that we could have corrected something which maybe was causing some danger to the public. So that's the impetus for this, and you can see in Wade Beltramo, the NICOM article, he suggests that notwithstanding that it's clear in the village law, you want to make sure that you have reiterated it and provided the public with all the opportunity to get it to the clerk so things could be fixed, to fix a dangerous condition.
So the next step on this, if we all are in agreement, is that we would start the process of set a public hearing and all of that.
Yes, once you have looked at those two highlighted provisions and that you're happy with a process and a procedure that is technologically capable and that that the clerk's office is in agreement that that's the best way for her to be getting these notices into the records.
Do we have to have the whole process outlined, like, to that level of detail in the local law? Or
Yes.
it can't just say it needs to go to her, it has to say how?
Yes, it does, because now if it should be passed on in some fashion and you haven't actually protected yourself, that it needs to get to her in a certain way, and you can see those two highlighted sections. You just want to make sure that it's clear and obvious. And if what I've drafted is fine, it's fine. I mean, I don't know what your system is capable of. I'm not aware of what these portals.
Yeah, but given the nature of how these things have changed over the years, couldn't we do this and could we draft it in such a way that it would address like future, let's say we adopted a new software system at the village 2 years from now, like.
And if you think that this language actually covers that, then it's fine and it's good to go.
Okay.
But when I had discussed it with the mayor, she had said, well, we're doing this upgrade and the software will distribute, and I just sometimes. Some communities have actually required handwritten notice. That's the level of control they want in order to get those notices in and getting that situation fixed. In some cases, and I had suggested this, that you can assign a particular email notice at clerk at whatever. You know, in other words, there are many ways to accomplish this. I just don't want there to be any ambiguity that a later claimant could use against you for a particular purpose. And I know that in the past, the law says the condition can be ameliorated within a reasonable period of time. So it's really, that's the ambiguity in the statute. You want to make sure that you have provided every opportunity to get the information.
And one more thing.
On the prior notice and how that notice is received. Oh, I called Rob, well, that's not good enough. It has to be in writing, and I think this really tightens it up.
There's a conclusion at the end of the thing that it says consult with your insurance carrier. Is there any need to have input from them on additional language that would have to go in here, or no?
No, actually, I spoke to Wade directly about this. And if you wanted to look at your liability carrier and you wanted to speak and get information from your liability carrier or get an opinion on the language that's been drafted, that would be fine. We haven't scheduled this for any hearings or any further discussions. It's just, I wanted to introduce the topic that this is a vulnerability in your code, and I want to make sure that the conditions can be corrected appropriately.
You suggest I send it to the broker? Just for coverage?
I mean, Yes, probably.
I would recommend it.
Yeah,
Unless
then
otherwise,
let's do it.
Mhm.
But I think this, I mean, when I read this, it was generic and enough in a way that is basically saying like, there needs to be an email to the clerk or a portal that sends an email to the clerk. And that is basically what anything we would potentially do in the future would do, is create a different way of just doing the same. So
Correct.
as long as it's,
And it's being logged in.
Yep.
And
Mhm.
it's either being logged in with a report that's available through the system, or it's being logged in a spreadsheet, or being logged in a manner. Back in the old days, you know, all correspondence that came in was put in a log, a daily log. So you want to make sure that you've given every opportunity for the clerk to capture this notice that comes in. It's just a measure of protection for you. Because these personal injury claims can be, the litigation involved can be very expensive, and the settlements also can be very expensive. So you want to make sure you've given yourself every opportunity to fix this before an injury or damage occurs.
So let's say we have a snowstorm and there's a lot of ice around. And there's 15 complaints that come in.
Right.
Those will all be presented to the Board of Trustees at the next meeting. Like if I read this
Yeah.
penultimate sentence, no, of the highlighted.
where,
He shall at the board meeting next following receipt of such written notice or within 10 days, whichever is sooner, cause said written notice to be brought to the attention of the Board of Trustees.
Is this,
that's not the
this
local
is the
law.
state?
It's not the local law.
This is
Oh.
from New York State, and then this is the change to our.
Yes.
law.
And
This
you're
is the change
you're
law.
actually using your home rule authority to be more precise in this case.
Highlighted.
Those,
Oh, I scrolled, sorry, I'm scrolling back and forth. I'm
okay.
just looking at yellow.
And of course, within a reasonable amount of time, depends on the circumstance, and of course, I just parked on top of a snowdrift out there in a police vehicle parking space, so a reasonable amount of time, isn't within 24 hours. Liz, did you have a question?
I have a lot. First off, well, if somebody reports whatever to me, there's a pothole, on Ashford, right? How long does the village have to repair that? Cause I mean, I have a couple concerns about this, cause I don't know what the process is gonna be, and I just wanna understand that. For instance, if somebody, the thing is to contact Liz, they contact me on Friday at 5:30. I'm not seeing that till Monday.
Of course.
All right.
Well, what would
that
happen,
could
I
be
mean,
a problem.
the process wouldn't be that it only goes to you,
Right.
but it has to include you. So whatever like, if we were to have a form online or a place where people can report things, it would send an email to you, but also Steve and also Rob, like it just has to include you as a matter of record. And it's not you
Okay,
having to
the way I was
solve, you don't have to
understanding it,
solve
like,
the problem.
Everybody's gonna email me and I'm like, ooh, pothole, guess that goes to Steve,
Yeah.
Well, what we've been doing when we get those is I just send it to Steve. I don't, it never occurred to me that you should get a copy or anybody else needs to see it except maybe Rob.
But the case that just got decided would say that's sufficient as the prior notice. And somehow it got lost in the system, and then the next person hits that pothole, then we're liable for the damages. So it doesn't give you the adequate amount of time, the reasonable amount of time to fix what potentially dangerous condition. And what that case said is that if someone is just writing a public facing in a portal, or you're getting something from a traffic committee member in an email, that's the written notice and you're on the hook. So you want to make sure that it has to be registered at the clerk's office in some fashion. And it can be by a forwarding or a referral or a system.
Yeah, I think the ultimate goal is to have a better tracking system so that things are done in a reasonable time and it's tracked so that you can prove it. And like, the fact that it's going to her is a part of that solution, but it's also one step that we haven't yet done, so it's a step in the right direction, so.
And as far as the actual tracking, does this add for Liz's office, does this add anything specific about like what needs to be recorded? And is this something that kind of we work on programmatically with Liz as far as saying, if we want to turn this into a feedback loop, then that's maybe a different thing than merely recording that the complaint came in.
The notice came in.
The notice came in. So does this obligate Liz's office in any way? Like, does this define what precisely needs to be recorded?
It can get to that granular level, but obviously something that's coming in through some of your portals is under the name anonymous.
Okay, so
And that would be
that's a
insufficient.
pragmatic
Yeah,
question.
that's
So all this is saying is, this is now saying that that there needs to be some sort of record keeping happening within the clerk's office. We're doing this to close a loophole to protect the village, to add additional protection of the village, and then there's a next layer of figuring out implementation of what this actually means for us in terms of getting things repaired in a reasonable process, and then ensuring that that is recorded.
Yes.
So that,
Because village law 6628 specifically says that written notice has to go to the clerk. It becomes murky in terms of what written notice that comes in to someone other than the clerk,
Yeah.
whether that qualifies as prior written
Yeah.
notice. It's always been required by law to go to the clerk, but in some cases, like your example, it,
Never read that section of the code.
yeah.
So I think that this is fine as it is, and that we could, add it to schedule a public hearing to, get this moving forward.
You have another question?
Yeah, could we also include the deputy clerk on this? So, in the event that I'm not in the office, that she would at least receive the notification as well.
Would it be the clerk's office? Could it say that instead, or the office of the village clerk?
Yeah. Yeah,
So that it's-
and your state statute specifically says village clerk, and then I also copied the section, which actually defines the role of the village clerk, and it's literally in there as well. So I just wanted to make sure you can say, I mean, again, I think that that's an internal thing.
Yeah.
If the deputy can have access to whatever this method of notice comes into the office of the village clerk, and certainly whatever the deputy or staff in the village clerk's office has access to whatever this ultimate repository is, would be sufficient.
So, my office will get these, complaints or prior notice or what have you, and my job will then be to basically record them on whatever, an Excel spreadsheet, whatever we're using, software, whatever. Now, as far as the follow-up, do I have to call Steve up every day? Hey, that pothole's still not fixed. Day 2, Steve, what about the pothole? You know what I'm
No,
saying?
you don't have to monitor the
Progress?
progress on the elimination of the dangerous condition. That's not your role. Your role is to just receive and record the notices of prior dangerous conditions. And then, again, it's another internal policy or procedure that you can set for how the follow-up, if it comes directly to you, then it's all sort of an internal,
so we have to figure that out.
yeah.
I mean, like, that kind of like had to
If
be.
if you're recording it and then the administrator's office uses that as a project management tool to figure out, to, get those to take action on those, that's not.
Right.
It's not on you to take the
It's the
action, it's
record.
just to record.
It is noteworthy to mention that we should keep track, and we do, of all these reports when it's done, because the insurance company is invariably gonna call, hey, what's your track record? 0 out of 100, did
Yeah.
you fix anything, or 99 out of 100? So it's very important that I know
Yeah.
Steve does keep a
Right.
good track record.
And it says in here, you can send it, you can establish an official email address or an online portal, or something that's designated for the purposes of receiving this. So again, those are decisions to be made internally. You just, here it's just clarifying that the clerk, in order for it to qualify under the statute as a prior written notice of condition under streets or sidewalks, public areas, it has to be in the repository with the clerk.
Okay, cool. So then, yes, please.
Yes, please. And do you want to get, just run it by the liability? Yes, okay.
Do you wanna call for the public hearing at the regular meeting tonight, or call for the public hearing at the March 10th? Give us some time to gather some information.
Let's call for the public hearing at the March 10th meeting.
Okay.
That way we have time for the insurance. Before we call it, in case we want to edit this slightly.
Yeah.
For any reason.
Okay.
So number 3 was Project Mover. Were they gonna call in or
Yeah, there's some,
they're zooming in? Can they do it at another point after we do our appointments?
it's 7:30 now, so if you wanna open from close. the
Right,
workshop,
close this, open the public meeting,
do that.
do the pledge, do the appointments, and then have Project Mover, but
If he wants to hang on for another
Right.
couple minutes, you can ask.
Happy to, I heard part of the mayor's
Okay.
request there, so happy to hold on, yes.
running a little behind, so we're gonna come back to you after our 2 appointments, because we're gonna have, family and stuff in here for the first appointment. So probably 15-20 minutes, Mitch, okay?
I think he has to sign in using the other, it's a
Right.
different Zoom address.
The regular meeting.
Okay, so is there a motion to close this? Deputy Mayor Ginn, Trustee Azuma.